Entire world is facing situations beyond their control. The central banks of each country has taken up recession curtailing measures that include that should include interest rate hikes. But now the central banks started to think that is the only mechanism for them. US, Fed, and every country in the Western world started that. We don't have a control, but we can see what can happen, what is the real competitive economy, and why this interest rate hike will affect one sector more than any other sector. So you got that already. The industries, if we think about all industries, production, services, industries, they always cope up with the consumer habits. When the prices are high, they can't maintain the service, they undergo innovation, changes, and everything is beneficial to the customer. So this is normal for the competitive economy. So we just think about uh, food. It was very costly when after the World War II, things were very costly. First priority for our spending was food. It was too costly, and through the competition, everybody worked together. They brought down the prices, and it's cheap. The food is not taking any big portion of our spending. Maybe you like this cuisine, you want to go to the restaurant, then you spend more. But for a basic need for the food, you don't need to spend a lot. Same way it happened for the cloth, and clothes were taking up 20%, 25% of one's uh, salary those days for the entire family. But now cloth prices have come down. So if you think about any product or service in the world, somebody brought in efficiencies, and there were innovations, and the uh, management of the resources, management of the companies, all of them brought cheaper and affordable products and services for the entire industries, the entire country. It helped the consumers. But that's why when the share market works uh, on the consumer satisfaction, when consumers satisfied, they got some money to spend, more and more products can come. The products that are in the market, the companies that they are selling, they go up in their value. That's what share market is. I'm just going through the basic. Even for the revenue collection of the countries, the governments, it's essential that we need to have good job market. Everybody is working, so that the major portion of many countries' revenue through tax on income will flow through, tax on corporate taxes will flow through. All other, even GST is based on consumer spending. So major portion of the government revenues come from customer satisfaction, customer spending. So this is really a good way of progress. But what happened, one sector, you must have already spotted that one sector is working against maybe three sectors, I can say, but we take up one that is very physically visible one, that is real estate. Real estate we are stuck with something, that is, the more and more buildings have to come, the prices have to increase. How can it be how can it be justifiable? All through these decades, we were trying to anything, even for the common man, unaffordable homes. It will take their 5 year, 6 year, 10 year, 12 year salary to find a house and live in it, or you have to pay rent. So this complete sector is working against the norms of the entire world and other industries. So the entire world of nations are forced to rest on buildings and infra. The infrastructure is a different, because it's a user pays, it gets revenue. The infrastructure spending is quite different, but for living, so for commercial real estate is different. So, but that also underwent a lot of problem. I tell you later, there are big problems in the commercial real estate the way we have, because the online thing has changed it. They are not changing their attitude. All the real estate and commercial real estate, they have to come to terms. The real estate industry is having a big, profit or money. So they don't want to think outside the square. They didn't invent the same methodologies used to build houses continues, and they don't think about a cheaper option. So the entire world, because they are so busy building properties, and the real estate is very busy either renting the properties to tenants, or either they are selling the apartment, new or old, to the other by making 2% to 5% profit on each sale. They don't care. They don't want to change anything. So which in which industry this kind of profit is there? If it is an innovative industry, it's a angel investing, you can get that kind of money. But for an industry on the long run, just because it relies on one thing, the land is scarce, that is the watchword. The government makes it, government gets one big, not the central government, the local governments get big chunk of money out of, many countries have that stamp duty. So they don't care. They want you to buy and sell land. Their motive is not to provide affordable houses to people. So what is happening? What is the correction? Okay, this is the scenario. This is the problem. What will happen with the interest rate hikes? The aim, it's unplanned for. This is not what the central banks are planning for. But ultimately, many economists will think differently. They say the recession will be, quelled by recession is coming through because of these interest rate hikes. They say job losses, all those things. But many industrialists, many economists of the free market think, they know in their heart, if there is no innovation, there is no commerce, there is no production. That means any kind of adverse effects, any kind of interest rate hikes will bring in a change in the management. As we are seeing in Twitter, he laid off. I don't say it's good or bad, very bad for the workers. So this way changes are happening. What can we do? So the companies who can adapt to the changing environment of high interest rate. They innovate in several layers. One is management, staff, third is product innovation, and cheaper products they find, and even they spend on R&D to make how to make products cheaper. So as far as in 1 or 2 years, any interest rate hikes will be absorbed by industries, and industry, the share market will be same or it will bounce back by 20 to 30%. That's what people know, they say. Otherwise, short term corrections may be there in the share market. Only those who innovate and make it cheap, because there's not much money in it's floating, so they have to bring it cheap. So what will happen to real estate? They are forced now. The sales is dropping, the auctions are dropping, and uh, the house. Okay, we thought about shortage of houses, but what about room sharing companies come. That was innovation. So um, so instead of house sharing, people try to come in, a union with, they adjust their lifestyle to be living with other people because they can't pay much. So this innovation at the customer level happened. But why it is not happening at the construction level? Because uh, they are constructing. They don't have time to even look for alternate methods. There were something already done. I saw a few years before mass building, 1,000 houses built in one day. That kind of technology was there. People say NASA bought the tech. It was not there. I saw that, and I talked to one professor who was involved in it. He said it was true. So those kind of technologies that can build houses very quickly or there, were there at least if it is taken over by something. But the Western economists think the house price collapse will shave off the entire wealth of a country. That's not so. People can live. If we think the houses are for people living rather than it's a big uh, for the price hike. So if you don't think our future relies on price hike, maybe $1 million becomes 10 million, and invest on that, it's a fallacy now. The interest rate hikes teach us a lesson that if at all you want to invest in real estate, don't in I mean the individual investment in houses should not be sustainable. They are not sustainable. What they can do is they can invest in the futuristic companies which can bring down the cost of building of house so that the community can be happy. So if they invest on, so existing companies, even the big companies, they don't work on innovation. They don't want to even hear what R&D is talking about building. And second portion, the major portion of the real estate is land. The governments are not thinking about how to reduce the cost of the land. So the division, how they put lot of the conditions to make a raw land into a building. So that cost weighs on that comes back to the house. So how can the land be made cheap? How can the land be the building be made cheap and with less workers for each project, but all the workers can be employed. They need not work on one project. They can be working on two. I don't think the real estate industry workers should be laid off. But if innovation comes in, millions of houses can be built. Don't worry about the market. The market is just because you want to hike the price, and no, never think. It is for people living, and any many migrations, even 1 million migrations, it can be absorbed by the houses. That kind of buildings we need. But in the way we are doing, just few thousand, maybe tens of thousands we are building per year, that has to increase by multifold, so that houses will be in abundance. We don't take this as a market. We don't want to get profit out of uh, price increases. We want to make profit out of how many people we house in a house, and they can pay the rent, minimal rent. It doesn't matter if they pay rent. If the government takes away the negative gearing, then it becomes equitable industry. Otherwise, it is very, very government supported industry. The government support is for the property prices to increase. That's unsustainable in the long run. If your GDP, if you want to increase your GDP should rest only on the buildings. Then I'm sorry, the war has already exposed atomic bombs. The building industry, the buildings are uh, first hit. They are hit. So insurers are now very they are very afraid of even insuring big long buildings. That means you can't rest on the value of the property, rather the utility value of the property, where people come and stay there and rent. So if any industry you think about the production, people consume it, thereby they get the revenue. In real estate, you have to adopt the same thing. You can't think the value will go. So do we buy a car for the value increase? Do we buy any equipment, any fridge, anything? Do we buy it for value increase? No. Why it's for real estate? It's wrong. You have to, but if you got a fridge, if you want to lease out, if you want to use it for your production, then that's a productive asset. If you want to just keep the fridge and don't use it, what is the use of it? Same way, if you have a house and if it houses many, now we got three bedroom, 5 bedroom houses. Only one person, two-person lives there. What is the penalty for them for not using? So affordable housing doesn't mean you have to build more at a higher cost. You have to innovate in in the making of the house. You have to bring down the cost at least by 50%. You have to bring down the price of land by 50%. That is what recession will teach you. And you have to bring down you have to bring up the occupancy of the houses full to at least 60% of its capacity. If a house has got 2 bedroom, you should have at least 2 or 4 people. 4 people it's meant for, if it is a double bedroom. If it is 5 bedroom, you have to have at least 5 or maximum 10 if everything is double. So this aspect we have to think about. We have to penalize, or we have to make the owners. If the owner is living, that's different, that's okay. If the owner is not living, he is just renting out, it doesn't matter. If he finds a way to give it to bigger families with 5 or 6, then fine. If he gives this house for a couple, 3 bedroom house for a couple, and he doesn't care, he wants to charge me, the property owner has to be accountable for that. So his property tax should be taxed, not there should be a discount or a mechanism to reduce his property. He starts, okay, 3 bedroom house, 6 people live there, his property tax will be less. If 3-bedroom house, only 2 people live, his property tax will be more. So you got my point. He wants to protect the property from tier. So the usage of property is doing disservice to its occupancy. This is not a good sign. So property, like all other commodities, should be coming down in price, not going up. This is a fallacy. The world is making a correction. This is my bold statement that this interest rate hike, and if at all um, any recession comes out of it, this will teach us a lesson to treat house not as an asset, just a commodity or a utility. Then putting all money on a house, this thinking will go. This Western economic thinking will concentrate on production of and innovation. Those companies will grow, and our life will be more pleasant than this. And our problem with bondage with house and my house, my each householder who buys a house become an agent of how to increase my house price. This is happening only in real estate. Can anybody think, I got this, I want to sell it to you for higher price? It's not possible. Only house. Why? So this has to change. This will change. That's my bold statement. Thank you for listening.